You look like freaking Tony Stark.
Hell yeah, bro.
Hey, I thought my name was really creative on the fly. We don't really have another name. Title Juan.
That's like, I'll take
I
it.
was proud of myself for coming up with that one.
I don't know how to change our name, though.
Well, if you're doing a JV, the ownership is different.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
Oh, got a notification.
Oh,
So did I. Yeah.
GPG.
And then it records it so that you can download and edit, correct?
All right, so how are we going to do this? Are we intro,
So just-
no intro? You
Let's do a
now,
quick
whatever?
let's do a quick intro.
Okay.
I'll start it off and then you can just
Okay.
add and then we'll get into it.
Okay. Quick intro.
Yeah.
Which one's first?
We're just gonna let him pop it up and whoever presented it, just go.
You got it.
Okay, let's get into it. Which one you guys want to start?
Whichever one, doesn't matter.
Random.
Oh, we're gonna piss some people off. I'm so excited.
So on these
for
ones,
this.
so I answer it or you answer it?
So if it's yours, you ask the question.
Okay.
I'll start and then throw it back to you, and we'll just go back and forth until we're ready for the next one.
Okay.
Tingy, do you know which one it is? Because you got to pop the right one up. It's the BMW one. Let's make sure that we have these in order really quick. So BMW is first. Okay.
BMW and then the
Got desperate and took on a listing that is way overpriced.
estimate one, and then the shorter screen.
Realtors really out here trying to sell courses on how to sell real estate to other realtors.
Guilty.
And then agents.
Moving to Salt Lake said goats.
What's that?
Moving to Salt Lake City, Utah said goats.
Ooh. Shout out Scott Willie. I think that's Scott Willie. Agents, please stop telling your sellers you have to offer a specific concession amount to the buyer to cover the buyer agent fee, or agents won't show the property. That language was the basis for the entire lawsuit against NAR. So that's your order, Tingy?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay. Sweet. Okay. Let's run it. You ready? Give us a countdown to when we're live. Okay, so here we are. We are officially live. Brand new daily content going to be coming at you. Do we have a name for this yet? Hell no. That's not how we really do things. We come up with an idea. The name will find us in the morning. So if you have any great ideas, throw them in the comments down below. The ideas right now that we have so far are Boo and Tony in the morning, the BT show.
That's it?
You got anything better than
Nope.
that? Anything from the peanut gallery? Comment down below what we should be calling this. The entire premise of this, and I'm very, very excited about this, is we started trying to talk through what would this look like for us going live every day? What do we want to be talking about? We are realizing that agents are incredible because they put all of their life story on social media.
We do.
So
For good
we-
or ill, we do.
So we are finding from different forums, from different social media platforms all over the interwebs, we are finding different things that realtors said, and we're just going to give you our opinion. That's really what this is a show of opinions.
For sure. And I think it's a combination of, there are legitimate questions out there of agents that say, hey, I need help with this. How are people succeeding? What are good lead sources? So we're going to dive into that. But there's also a lot of BS on these forums.
A lot
There's
of whining.
A lot of complaining.
Yeah.
A lot of, and not only that, but I think that there are a lot of agents that are just flat out wrong. And if there's a certain line of thinking, if they continue that way, they're absolutely going to be set up for failure. So we have a couple of screenshots that we found on social media. This is kind of going to be the structure of the show. We're going to break them down, give our opinions, true, false, BS, and a whole lot of other stuff. So
You're up first.
I'm up first. All right, here we go. So this is from the Real Estate Mastermind on Facebook. It says, got desperate and took on a listing that is way overpriced. They will only do the Zestimate or higher. How can I convince them?
And to that you say.
So here's the thing. At first, and I'm going to speak from experience, when you're new,
Wait, how many listings do you have active right now?
I have 12.
Okay, so just provide some context.
But when you're brand new, you go out and you try to sell to anybody that has a pulse. Like, it doesn't matter. You don't say
You take
no.
any deal.
You take whatever. It doesn't matter if it's land, doesn't matter if it's a mobile home. Like, we've all been there. Condo, doesn't matter. The dream is like $1 million listing. So I've been there. I'm empathetic to that. But I think that as you mature in your career, you have to be a little bit more selective. So to this, I would say there are a couple of ways that you can go about it. Number one, if you don't yet have the communication skills to convey to the seller that that's not the right price, or they flat out don't want to do it, you have two options. You can walk away, or you can take the listing and be strategic about it. Here's what I mean. Do you have the ability to take one listing and turn it into a buyer, turn it into another listing? Do you understand how to farm a neighborhood? Do you understand how to leverage open houses, how to leverage social media? So even if it's not a great listing, if you're skilled, you can still turn that opportunity into others if you do it correctly.
Yeah, and I think that this is also where it's going to be super important for us as agents to make sure that we have what are called your standard operating procedures in place. Because what's going to happen, let's say you take that listing, you know it's overpriced, the seller might not agree with you, but in your heart of hearts, you know, hey, this is listed at 1.2, there's no way that it sells for more than 9.8, right? $980,000. How do you convince your seller in that listing appointment that that home is overpriced? You're probably not going to be able to do that. You're going to be competing with agents that don't understand the market to the level that a Tony Acosta does. They're going to come in there and say, yeah, I'll get you 1.2. Are they going to? No, because agents are not the market. The market will dictate what is fair market value for that house every single time. So what can you do is you take the listing, and then over the course of the next couple of months, you need to approach it like how you're approaching some of these listings that are sitting on the market a little bit longer. I think there's too many agents that get into this, and when there is no news, they don't share it with people. When there's good news, yeah, they're really quick on the phones. Hey, good news, had 3 people come through it today. The reality of it is, though, is that if you're not constantly offering the advice and saying, hey, I had no showings, I threw 3 open houses on this, and this is not being viewed when I send it out to all of the agents in the state, something is wrong, and it's not the marketing, it's the price of your house. That is going to be how you can help that seller understand the context and the perspective of what the market is thinking on their house. But if you're not constantly giving updates, even when there is nothing to update on, it is going to be very, very difficult for you to convince that seller that of 2 things. Number 1, that their house is overpriced, but then number 2, that what you're doing as an agent is the best that you can be doing to get that listing sold.
100%. And so I think it's learning to be patient. A lot of agents, if they don't get the price reduction on day 1, they're out. They'll walk away. And they have their arguments as to why they do that. I think that's a mistake because as time goes on, as you mentioned, now you have data. Now you have stats. Now people start to understand, okay, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's doing the open houses, he's hustling, he's working. Something's wrong. And in many cases, then the price reduction comes later. But if you're obsessed with this, I don't want it to mess up my days on market stats, you're going to miss out on a lot of opportunities.
And I think that this is super important. We trained on this on Wednesday to all of our agents at the Perry Group. If you are throwing an open house for another agent and you're not conveying them how that open house went, you are doing that agent a massive disservice in this communication aspect with their client. If you didn't say, hey, I threw up 30 open house signs, I knocked 50 doors around it, I circle called 50 other houses around it, and I did everything that I possibly could to make this open house successful, and still nobody came through, that agent needs that feedback to be able to convey to their seller.
And as a seller, it's hard to argue with that. There's just not, what are you going to do, right? So hope that is helpful. Next one, I love this one.
Ha!
This one's huge. This is one of my favorites. So it says, my broker says my car is too trashy to show buyers around. Will a BMW really help my sales?
I would say that this is the most stereotypical car that a real estate agent can drive. A 3 Series BMW in white, 2 years on a lease. That is the most common stereotype of a vehicle that real estate agents drive. Now, I think that this is kind of a tricky one because I do think that there is a yes and a no to this answer. Will it help you get more sales? Maybe. But let's talk about, it's not necessarily the type of vehicle that you're driving, it's the presentation of the vehicle that you're driving. If somebody looks at your car and it's messy, inside or outside, if you have a broken windshield, if you have tires that are bald, if you have dents in the door and it looks like how my car sometimes looks when my kids spend a weekend with me, I do think that that is going to be a little bit more difficult for you to tell that agent that, hey, I have my stuff together on this. I know what I am doing and I am really, really good at this. That is a lot harder of a conversation to have. Now, I think that this aligns with how you dress. I think this aligns with the technology that you're using during showings. To me, I don't know that it's ever going to cost you a deal, but it might not help you get another one. And I do think that this is where if you are driving not necessarily a nice, flashy Porsche 911 that says, hey, I'm really, really good at this, but if the presentation is on point, I do think, right, because what is going to happen is you are going to have people that are going to make an instant judgment on you.
Always.
And so if this job is hard enough to get all of the ducks to line up in a row that you can get to closing, don't impede yourself with this. And this goes for dress, it goes for presentation, it goes for vehicle, everything.
All of it. So I am a big sports junkie, so I will always use sports analogies, no penalties. Don't lose yardage. So it's not about having an expensive car. It's just whatever car you have, take good care of it. As you mentioned, have it clean. Go to the car wash every Monday. Just make sure that when you drive up to that showing, you don't take points off of the board. So do you have to go into debt with a BMW? Absolutely not. My first new car was a brand new Hyundai. It was $19,000, and it was perfect. It was good enough. But to that, I will also add something that I felt guilty to early on. Resist the fake it till you make it. Resist the fake it till you make it. I'll be honest, I bought the fake watches. I did it. I thought about getting the car because I thought that is what was going to sell. In the end, it's your skill set. So at the end, it's going to be your skill set, your ability to communicate, your ability to help people navigate a transaction. That's what you're selling. The presentation side becomes important to not take points off the board, but it doesn't matter if you drive a Lamborghini. If you suck as an agent, you're not going to get very far.
No, and you might get a couple of extra minutes with them because they're like, hey, Stu's driving a nice car, he might know what he's doing, but people are going to find out really, really quickly if the rest of your presentation isn't on point, he's probably borrowed that from his dad.
So prioritize the skills, take care of the presentation, but prioritize the skill set.
Okay, next one. Realtors, and this is why I really wanted this one for you, because you've sold more courses than I have. Realtors really out here trying to sell courses on how to sell real estate to other realtors when they can't even sell one home per month. Now, hold on, let me add a caveat. This dude does sell more than one house per month. So, but to that you say.
So here's the thing, when it comes to courses, everybody's obsessed with education, passive income, MRR, all of that stuff. What I will say is, do not talk about things that you haven't done. So in my case, I'm not going to go out and tell someone how to sell 100 homes in a year because I haven't done that. What can I do though? I can teach someone how to sell 30, 35. My best year was 42, I think. So anybody that is under that number, I can help. So it's just being very, very clear about what you've actually done and understand that there are people that are below that. But when it comes to real estate, don't take your eye off the ball. If you want to be an agent, and then the time will come when other agents start to ask you for help. You can package that information in some way. But a lot of agents can't sell property, so they say, well, maybe if I can't sell $1 million house, I can sell a $47 course. And that's kind of the logic behind it. It's the wrong way, because I think people forget that stats are public.
You can look everything up in this business.
People forget that stats are public. That a lender can look it up, other brokers can look it up. So they're going to find out. It doesn't matter how good your funnel is, they're going to find out. So if you're going to go out there and sell education, only sell education to the person that you used to be, not to the person that you want to become in the future just because you think it's flashy. Just because ChatGPT says that the flashy title is how to sell 100 homes in 1 year, if you haven't done that, don't do it. If you've only sold 35, then understand that if that's what you want to do, there's a market of realtors out there that sell 10, 12, that you can help bump them up to 27 or 28. That might be an acceptable path, but don't take your eye off the ball. The money's in real estate.
And I think the advice that I would give to any agents that are buying this course, I will be the first to say, I don't know if I've ever actually paid for a course for a couple of reasons, two big reasons. Number one, I have always been very lucky in who I aligned myself with. To me, if you were to come in to the Perry Group, for example, the amount of information that you will get just from being on the team, and obviously the Perry Group's not nationally, but there are teams that are set up just like us across the United States. Go and find a team lead, go and find agents that are doing high levels of production that are willing to give back to you, and it is going to be crazy the amount of information that you can pull. I don't want to say for free because you're going to pay for it via your splits, but the amount of information that is out there that is for free once you join a team is absolutely massive. So align yourself with a team, find a room that you see the people in and you're like, hey, I want to be doing what Tony Acosta is doing. Go and join those rooms. I promise you that you will sell more real estate from that than an individual course. The other part of this too is the amount of free information that exists out there. The amount of free networking opportunities, the amount of stuff that is on YouTube University is unlike anything that the world has ever seen at this point in time. Exhaust all of the free resources out there, and then if there's a very specific skill set that you want to add that skill set through a paid course. But I mean, I personally disagree with 97% of every real estate coach out there.
For sure. So are there things that you can learn? Absolutely, but you don't necessarily have to go out and pay for it. So I agree with you. Study the free resources. Align yourself with a broker that you actually like, that actually gives you the time of day. And you can get a lot of work done in there. Because also what ends up happening, and let's be real, there's always another course. There's always a better funnel. So you get this shiny object syndrome to where I'm in this mastermind. Oh, now I'm in this community. Oh, I just bought this course. Now I got the TikTok course. Now I got the LinkedIn. Like, it never ends. And so I think a big mistake that agents make is this shiny object syndrome where, okay, I got this awesome LinkedIn article course. They take it for 6 days and then they get funneled for another one. And that's just the way it works. So it's a massive rabbit hole that you have to resist. And if you're an educator, again, only talk about things that you've actually done that is verifiable. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure.
And if I could add one last thing to this, and we'll move on to our last topic. I have always been a big proponent of pulling from outside of the industry.
That's key.
I think that the majority of real estate has largely been undisrupted for a very long time. If you look at every other massive segment of a market, it is seeing massive amounts of disruption right now. Real estate is not. Real estate is archaic. Real estate, if you look at what our biggest advancement has been over the last 30 years, it's dot loop. It's the ability to DocuSign something. We have not been disrupted like a lot of other industries have been. So to me, I think you are better off to go and pull information from a Hormozy type individual who is not in real estate, but the principles still apply here. I think you are better to pull from outside of the industry and bring it in than you are just to talk to somebody that was doing this 30 years ago and back in their day, this is how they generated business.
No doubt. I love that. That's great. All right, here we go. Next one. This one's you.
Agents, please stop telling your sellers you have to offer a specific concession amount to the buyer to cover the buyer agent fee or agents won't show the property. That language was the basis for the entire lawsuit against NAR.
So here's the thing. I know you're incredibly opinionated about this one, so I'm going to let you take this one first.
Number one, that was not the basis for the lawsuit.
Number one.
Number one, that was not the basis
Which
for
is,
the
don't
lawsuit.
you find it hilarious?
So
that
let's
most
cover
people-
that.
First of all, most people don't even know why we got sued.
Correct.
So let's start there. Do some reading.
Correct.
Continue.
Do some research on what the actual lawsuit was about. The biggest thing that changed, there was two massive changes. The first one, as Sharon calls it, was the decoupling of commissions. Right. So our commissions now are split. It is not coming from the seller's brokerage. It is now coming from the seller directly to the buyer as a concession. It is not coupled like it was. It is not advertised like it was. The other big thing that they pushed for was more disclosure from buyer's agents to say, hey, Tony, I'm not just showing you houses for fun. I am doing this because I am your representation on this purchase.
And I
so
expect
let's
to get paid.
Correct.
My services aren't free.
Correct. So let's get that out of the way really, really quickly. Second, let's talk about what that 3% that was being paid from the listing, however you want to say that, to the buyer's agent. That was never about having the seller pay commission. In my opinion, that was always viewed as marketing dollars. How do you get your property to stand out? You incentivize more agents to pay attention to your property. Now more than ever, I think that 3%, the 2.5%, whatever it is that the seller is offering, is now brought to the forefront of the conversation more than it was because it used to be advertised. Now it's a term of negotiation when an offer is submitted. So to me, you're completely wrong, whoever this was, and we blurred out names for obvious reasons.
You might not do that in the future, by the way, so be careful.
Depending on how egregious the comment is, I guess.
Be careful.
So to me, this is going to be more important than ever before. And what I think we're going to start to see over the course of the next 12 to 18 months is that the agents that are really, really good at this are going to submit better offers on properties that are going to accompany a request of 2.5% or greater.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's just not true. It's just not true. So agents, are you actually being honest? Or are you just trying to take the easy route? If you say, oh, it'll be easier to sell this house if we have 3% commission, maybe, but it's just not true. And so it goes back to skill set. If a seller says, I don't want to offer any BAC, can you still sell that house?
Absolutely.
And a lot of agents might be like, hell no. So this is a skill set game, you guys. And with this lawsuit decoupling, it just forces agents to elevate their skill set. What happens when you're in that listing presentation and the seller says, I will only offer 1%? Do you know how to handle that? Do you know what to say? Do you know what the underlying objection is? What is the fear? What is the trepidation? Do you have your scripts practiced? Like all of that cascade of things become infinitely more important instead of just saying, well, if you don't do it, you're not going to sell your house, bro. So if you want me to help you, you have to 3% of it. It's never going to sell. It's just not true. you have a lack in skill set.
Let's talk about the scripting too that buyer's agents are going to be using on this going forward. Like we said earlier, they are going to have that buyer broker agreement signed prior to showing any houses. On that buyer broker agreement is going to be the agreed upon commission that buyer's agent will receive upon closing. So if I'm talking to you as my buyer and I'm representing you as the agent, to me the scripting sounds like this. Tony, this is what I'm going to charge you for the purchase of this house. I will do my best to try to negotiate having the seller pay that. Do you still want to see houses that are not paying me this? Which means that you are going to, if they're offering 2%, you are now going to have to come up with that extra 1%. Do you still want to see the houses that are showing 2%?
Do you guys notice how it just rolls off the tongue? Like that, again, skill set. That's the skill set. Can you say that? So this comes to practice. In your day-to-day, in your offices, are you practicing these scenarios? How many hours, and put it in the comments, how many hours a week are you doing these kinds of exercises where I'll give you an objection, respond, time out, say it this way, maybe phrase it the other way. When you're in these real life conversations, if you fumble it, you might lose a deal. So this particular portion right here, the communication side, is going to be the variable between success and failure. Especially when you have sellers that are a little bit uptight, they're not sure what happened, I don't have to pay, do I have to? If you can't do this, you're going to struggle.
So that's the end of today, day one. I feel really good about how it went. Jordan, how are we feeling? Jordan gave us a thumbs up, so we're feeling really good about this. This is going to be a morning segment. Every single morning for the most part. Let's give it a caveat. Every morning for the most part, we are going to be going live right around 9:30 Mountain Standard Time, MST? MST. And the goal is going to just be providing context like this on different things that we are seeing from agents. And believe me when I say we have hundreds of these screenshots. If there's anything specifically that you want us to address, leave it in the comments down below and we'll bump that priority up, obviously. Like, comment, subscribe.